They really just missed a Beyonce reference in there. They should have sent you a bag.
Oh, she's hot sauce?
Oh, CJ. Wait, Ben, you know this reference, right? Oh my gosh. This is why there's a diversity problem.
Yeah. Oh, the CFO doesn't get a Beyonce reference. Go figure.
Hot sauce in my bag, swag.
I got hot sauce in my bag, swag.
A lot of swag actually sucks. So was the artist they hired blind?
I mean, it could look a little bit more like me. It's like, I don't even know if I can blame AI. I think this just, I think this is human error. Oh, this is bad.
Ben, I'm glad he's giving it to you for once instead of me.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. Anything else you wanted to make sure we hit on?
No, I've blinded you with my science.
Yeah, I had no idea where you were going with that for a bit.
I didn't either, but I'm like, let's see if I can land the plane here.
You did land the plane.
I didn't know if you knew this, Ben, but my full name is Carl Moneyball Gustafson, so they are indeed. I'm the Billy Bean of the finance.
Brad Pitt, is that you?
You know, there was one artist that I don't think was in your LimeWire.
Who?
Beyonce.
Definitely not. Definitely not. All right, you remembered that. I will never live that down.
From Mostly Media, it's Mostly Growth. Go-to-market strategist Kyle Poyer and CFO CJ Gustafson share smart takes on growing revenue and running a company. Pricing, unit economics, AI, leadership, candid insights for CEOs, CFOs, and CROs, or anyone else aspiring to climb to the C-suite. This is Mostly Growth.
Welcome back to Slop Talk, where we keep it sloppy.
You're going to make Ben mad at us already. We just started recording.
I'll survive. We'll see who the real Stop Talk is.
Ben, what are you drinking today?
It's a pumpkin cream cold brew. It's a venti.
You got any protein in there? Is that the protein cold foam?
You know, I am definitely the target demographic for that
You're
product.
100% the target demographic.
But that's I have to draw the line somewhere. You know, I got my protein popcorn. I got my protein, cereal.
But you have protein popcorn?
It exists. Yeah.
I drew the line at protein chips. Those became a thing in the office, and they were inedible. They tasted like cardboard.
So can we go back and not let Ben off the hook for drinking 20 ounces of pumpkin something or other? That's he's like, gang. That is like the most LA producer thing ever, that you're walking around with just a vat of pumpkin goodness over there, Ben. Happy Friday.
It's my little treat.
Hey, I support it. If you were doing this in August, I would rip you a new one, but it's October. Like, you've got a couple weeks when you're allowed to do this, and you're in the window.
Kyle, wouldn't you be pleased to know that technically this Starbucks starts serving pumpkin drinks at the end of August, and I sure as heck was getting those first day.
All right, you're not supposed to tell me that. No, all right, you lost me fully. So CJ, I saw you posted on LinkedIn that you got some swag lately.
I get a lot of swag, and it's such a funny concept around my house because my wife follows all these like fashion influencers online. She's like, oh, if I could only get like these sweatshirts from Quince or whatever it's called, or if I could get like these new shoes that they have.
Quince is like a low end brand.
Is it? Shows how much I know. All right, keeping me honest here. But either way, my closet is just full of like t-shirts, sweatshirts. Like if you have an ERP, I'm like basically a walking financial software stack in my clothing. A lot of swag actually sucks. And I'm not picking on any of the companies that have sent me anything, but like I've worked at companies where they're like, hey everybody, we made t-shirts for the conference. And it's like a triple XL Gildan gray t-shirt that like you wouldn't even wear to the gym. Or they cheap out on like the hats. Have you ever got one of those like really shitty Velcro hats from a conference? You're like, I will never ever wear this?
Yeah, honestly, 9 times out of 10, the swag goes straight to the garbage at my household.
And it's also hilarious if this isn't hilarious. It's actually kind of sad, but a lot of it gets donated. So you'll see like somebody in downtown San Francisco wearing like an Oracle Fusion sweatshirt walking around. It's like, okay, well, they didn't make it comfortable, so somebody donated it. I got the best swag ever, Kyle. This is the most thoughtful, artful, and just on brand piece of swag I've ever gotten. So the fine folks over at Runway created a hot sauce called Burn Rate. So it's obviously a play on words because a lot of the companies they work with are burning cash. And so they made a hot sauce, and the bottle for those who aren't watching this, it's wrapped in a real $100 bill. Kyle, as someone who has ran marketing departments, has given swag away before. VCs love swag, by the way. I have an OpenView backpack
They
downstairs.
really do.
What do you think of this?
Definitely A+ for creativity there. I feel like there's some compliance challenges with mailing people $100 bills, but that's probably for someone else to figure out. But I like
think
the
limit's
creativity.
like $250 actually.
The only thing is, like, don't you kind of want the swag to be positive? I guess maybe you don't always need to, but this just reinforces, hey, we sell to companies that are lighting money on fire, and here's the hot sauce to prove it.
But I think that's why it's so funny and gets a lot of play online, because it's in that gray area of like, oh, we used our fundraising money to make fun of companies that are burning money. It's just very on the nose. And the packaging of it, Kyle, it opens just like an iPhone box.
That is some pretty premium packaging. You should have really done an unboxing on LinkedIn.
The unboxing is amazing.
You don't want to give the people the ASMR?
Yeah, I'm like tapping it. I'm whispering to it. But yeah, I just wanted to share this because I've gotten a lot of shitty swag before. This was like the most thoughtful, like out of the box thinking. Like a lot of thinking definitely went into this.
They really just missed a Beyoncé reference in there. They should have sent you a bag.
Oh, she's hot sauce?
Oh, CJ. Wait,
Call
Ben,
him out.
you know
Do
this
it.
reference, right? Oh my gosh. This is why there's a diversity problem.
Yeah. Oh, the CFO doesn't get a Beyoncé reference. Go figure.
Hot sauce in my bag, swag.
I got hot sauce in my bag. Swag.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Well, CJ, you know, I can show you the best swag I've ever gotten. It's swag.
Let's see
It's
it.
so good. I've never let it see the light of day until this very moment. Drum roll, please. It is so it's a Yeti, pretty big water bottle. It's got my name on it, so I know it's mine. But not just that, it has a hand-drawn picture of me to prove that it's my water bottle. Now, I have not found an occasion where I'm not so embarrassed to actually bring this with me, but when I do find that occasion, I will let you know.
So was the artist they hired blind?
I mean, it could look a little bit more like me. It's like, I don't even know if I can blame AI. I think this just, I think this is human error. Oh, this is bad.
Ben, I'm glad he's giving it to you for once instead of me.
Oh, wow. That's just the shade calling me basically hopefully a thin version of Drew Carey without even saying it. It's pretty nasty.
That's a tough one. They did try. I have to give it to them, like to go out of their way to try to do a drawing. So A for thought is D for execution.
Yeah, if you're someone that can bring that in public and drink from a water bottle with your own face on it, like props to you, but I would get ridiculed in Boston.
So I have come to the conclusion that having young children, the act of parenting is just 40% filling up water bottles for them. We probably go through about 10 sippy cups a day, 4 water bottles. We have them all labeled with names similar to, like when I saw the Kyle name, I'm like, oh, mine say my kid's name on them. Whether they're engraved or they have like a rubber holder around it with their name. So that's a real thing.
Hey, your problem is sippy cups. You just got to get them those Stanley cups.
Yeah, that would be
You
very
won't be filling
bougie.
it up all the time.
Yeah, a 2-year-old walking around with a Stanley cup the size of her.
So there's a lot going on in the world. What people want to know is GTM working? What is working in GTM? Anything? Bueller? It's a reference that CJ will probably get.
I got that one. Play off, Ben.
I got that one too. So what's working in GTM? I have been trying to figure that out, especially because it just seems like every new channel, you know, if you're not the first mover adopting it in, you know, a week, it's now all of a sudden saturated and you can't stand out anymore. Our SEO is getting killed. Our content's getting killed. Ad performance is getting worse. So what's actually working? And to figure that out, I just surveyed almost 200 B2B software companies along with my friend Maya from GTM Strategist, and we got some pretty interesting findings.
Kyle, I read through the report. This was really good. Can I hit you with a couple of thoughts that I came away with?
Let's do it.
I think I have this right, but you said the average software company has 5 core go-to-market channels and is running another 5.5 experiments. Am I right to say that sounds like Distraction City?
It absolutely is. I think that everyone has FOMO, right? That they see a channel working for another company and they're like, oh, we should be doing this too. Probably some, CEO pressure to be doing all of the things as well. But the reality is that your top couple of channels should drive the vast majority of your growth. And then so much else that you do becomes a distraction. I think companies should have 2 to 3 core channels and another couple of experiments that they're trying. So like take the 10.5 and move it down to 5, but 10.5 is way too many.
I just want to use a round number here. So if we have a $1 million marketing budget for programs specifically, Kyle, so I'm not counting the people or the tech or something, but just for programs, and I'm doing $200,000 5 times over, is it usually a better ROI to say take half of that and just not go for broke, but dump it into one and be very concentrated and then spread the others in smaller kind of envelopes?
So I think about it as there's this power law with the population of cities, and I'll butcher whoever came up with this, but it's like the largest city is always twice as large as the second city. Largest city is 3 times as large as the third city, 4 times as large as the fourth city, and so on.
Whoa.
Have you guys seen that before?
No, but that kind of put my brain in a pretzel. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, there's some cool math on that, but I think that the same logic should apply to channel spend. And so your first top channel needs to be a huge portion of your spend, and then it should degrade over time, but you still have a meaningful amount of spend in channels 2 and 3, and then 4, 5, and 6 are really experiments where there's a lot less budget. I think the peanut buttering of go-to-market channel budgets ends up just meaning you don't see great results.
Sales guy Matthew, who we both work with and works with our lovely sponsors on this show, was telling me this story that Brad Pitt was talking about on the Armchair Expert podcast with Dak Shepard. And basically, for the F1 movie, they had to get approval from insurance carriers to drive these cars at crazy speeds. And the insurance people said like, hey, we don't want you going over like 120 miles per hour on these. And they had to come back and say that's actually more dangerous because you're not generating enough downforce from it. So you're actually safer if you're going 160 miles per hour because there's more traction on the tires and the car isn't going to flip because of the air coming at it. I think of marketing channels very similar to that, Kyle, where if you're spreading it out like that $1 million, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, you're not generating enough downforce in any particular channel to get those outsized returns.
Yeah, I had no idea where you were going with that for a bit.
I didn't either, but I'm like, let's see if I can land the plane here.
You did land the plane. I think you're right on that. So the reality is for a lot of these channels, the channels are working for some people. The channels work, at least in some contexts or for folks that have expertise around them. But you need to hire people or you need to bring in the capabilities that have that expertise to scale these channels. And so if you're trying to do 5, 6 things at once, you probably have a generalist team that doesn't actually have enough time to ever focus on one of these things. Like if you find that you're able to have really great paid ad ROI on Instagram and TikTok, double down on that. Pour more spend in what you already know is working. Increase your number of creative variants. Go to the kind of next social media platform that looks more like an Instagram and a TikTok in terms of their audience fit. But like there's so much more you can do to keep scaling the channels that are working. I think there's a temptation to go, all right, we're seeing good ad performance. What's the next channel? And they should really go, what are the 10 things we could do next to blow this out of the water?
And I think that the value is when you go deeper in one channel, right? Like actually figuring out how to serve somebody very specifically with context through that channel. And you have to really invest in it. And you had this cool chart within the report, Kyle, where you basically pointed out, and I don't want to say they're one-trick ponies or anything, but some of the most well-known household names of software companies that you looked at have one main channel, and that's okay. And they do it up to the point of diminishing returns before they move on to the next one.
What I tend to find is that for at-scale companies, while they have a number of experiments running, there's really 1 to 2 things that are their bread and butter that drive a lot of their growth, are working really well, and that they've just built such a moat around their performance in. Like Calendly, for example, it was that viral social sharing, right? People schedule a meeting with someone else, that next person schedules a meeting. That viral viral growth drives so much of their demand and top of funnel. At Snowflake, it's an account-based motion. At places like ZoomInfo, it's outbound. HubSpot's known for inbound and kind of content generating demand. Monday.com has actually nailed paid digital spend, and they're everywhere on digital advertising. And for an Atlassian, it's really partner motions and partnering with a bunch of other folks in their ecosystem who go cross-sell or co-sell with Atlassian. Find that one thing, right? And do it well.
Kyle, the next thing that struck me in here, and I don't know if I agree with it, you said that content creation to generate leads is working really well. It was actually, I think, the number one source of generating pipeline. Like, dude, how can that be true with AI and everybody's just flooding the block? Like, I was joking that the show was called Slop Talk, but like, there's a ton of horrible content out there right now.
Let me correct you. So inbound is the most popular type of go-to-market motion. So inbound, like the definition of inbound is really organic growth by writing great content and having your brand discovered generally through content. That doesn't just mean one thing. It doesn't mean you're writing a blog and hoping someone finds it. It's often founder brand efforts. So storytelling through the founder and having them active on LinkedIn, having other employees post on LinkedIn, doing SEO optimization efforts, having your content get found by LLMs for AI search results, right? There's all of these, having a newsletter that you can email to your audience on Substack or Beehive. All of these are part of an inbound strategy, but it's not just, writing content.
I prefer to put incorrect words in your mouth. Okay, so content creation to generate leads is working if it's good. Something that you just said there, Kyle, and I think it links, no pun intended, to some of the LinkedIn takeaways within this report, is that the content is coming through a person's channel, right? Like a founder. It's not coming through just like, hey, this is ZoomInfo's company page, right?
I should say, so for folks that want to see the report, it's in Growth Unhinged as of today. And the number one channel that was most widely adopted across the B2B companies in the report was LinkedIn. Like almost everyone is doing something on LinkedIn, but I think with LinkedIn, what's tricky about it is it can actually mean about 10 different channels all in one. I think that's also the magic of it. It could be using LinkedIn for prospecting and finding the right accounts. It could be sending connection requests to your potential buyers, sending in-mails, doing ad campaigns. But really people start with the lowest cost thing, which is posting and not spending money on your posts. And if you're posting and you could have an employee or a founder post something or the company post it onto their company page, you probably see about 10 times the level of engagement from your employees as opposed to the brand. We saw this at OpenView, for example. Our brand we actually had a bunch of followers for the brand on social, but almost no one was clicking like on those posts. We got almost no click through on anything we did with that. And so for a while, we had a social media person whose primary job was posting from the corporate account on LinkedIn. I have to say that was probably our lowest ROI activity, especially when you compare it to getting some employee or partner to actually post the same thing.
Well, let's stay on that for a second, because I often looked at you and Blake Bartlett as kind of Trojan horses for the company, where it felt like it was a connection with you two, but people were, inevitably interacting with the brand as a result. It feels like that was pretty intentional.
Well, that's what we leaned into because it was so much more effective than corporate posting. The reality is that people trust other people more than they trust brands these days. They want to follow and engage with someone they think is a human, who has a personality, who isn't BSing them. And if you can elevate the people around your brand, you're going to find that you can reach so many more people and then actually influence those people to buy. So for us, it was me and Blake. Blake loved video. I loved writing. It did work quite well. It's not just, a VC thing or what we did. You look at OpenAI, Sam Altman is such a public face of the brand. You look at Lovable, it's Anton. You look at Replit, Bolt, all of these next-gen companies, we somehow seem to know the founders at these companies, and we might know them as well as we know the companies themselves.
Kyle, it seems like companies are focusing more of their effort on LinkedIn. Did you dig into if they're focusing more of their spend, though, too, on LinkedIn? Is a lot of this sponsored or promoted stuff?
One thing we did look at that's pretty interesting is we created the new GTM Scorecard. This is the first time I've done this. We mapped out the popularity of different go-to-market channels on the x-axis and then how effective they were on the y-axis. So what percentage of the time did these become a top 3 channel versus how frequently was it one of the worst performing channels? And that was fun to look at, to actually see, hey, not just what's popular, but what is working for people right now.
And so for this grid here, you want to be in the top right?
Well, the top right are the tried and true channels. These are the things that most people are doing, and they work more frequently than they don't. So if you're a founder or go-to-market leader joining a new company and you're like, what should we do? Take these things. And those are your most likely starting points. So things that are on this list, for example, were LinkedIn. We talked about that already. SEO, which is a bit surprising because,
Yeah, I
SEO
heard the opposite.
Yeah, SEO performance is declining, but hey, there's still enough life left in it where, maybe this moves down into the lower right quadrant next year, but it's still kind of hanging on. But then warm outbound, large conferences, intent-based outbound, founder brand, and intimate events were all types of channels in the top right.
So AI SDR, definitely not in the top right. My favorite quote.
Ouch.
My favorite quote from this whole report was, we tried an AI SDR for 6 months and were unable to generate a single opportunity.
Unfortunately, I've heard that sentiment a few too many times. Yeah, it's one thing that was cool on the chart is on polar opposite positions where the AI SDR, which is basically lower left side, and then on the upper right were intimate events. So things like dinners, happy hours with your target customers, like not scalable, very much not able to be replicated with AI. That's performing best for people. And the AI SDR is performing the worst.
And talk about AEO. Where did that land?
So AEO, we're teaching you the acronyms in go-to-market. I love this. Got to load you up with TLAs. So AEO
Next
or
week.
AI search, AI discovery. This is the number one channel that people plan to increase their go-to-market investments in. More than half the people that took the survey said they plan to increase spend here. And you can compare that to SEO. Only 14% plan to increase their SEO investments. So huge appetite for AEO. I'd say it's still in the figuring it out mode though. So a lot of companies are seeing growth in AEO, but they're maybe seeing 10% or so of their leads come in through AI search. So it's one of the fastest growing channels. It's becoming potentially a core channel, but it hasn't totally broken through to be the primary way of getting demand.
Anything else from this report that was either confirmatory based on what you're hearing or a total surprise?
The other thing that was interesting, so 3 in 4 companies said that they have a top-down mandate to adopt AI. But then when we double click into what they're doing with AI, most people are actually just on ChatGPT. So there's not a ton of value from AI yet. We're still in a lot of experimentation mode, but we asked, what's the number one most impactful go-to-market tool that you used in 2025? There were 50 write-in responses for ChatGPT alone. That was like far and away the number one tool, followed by HubSpot, Clay, Claude, and LinkedIn. And so ton of interest in AI and ChatGPT in particular, but I was looking to see more advanced applications like AI in production through agents, multi-agent workflows, vibe coding apps. There's some of that, but much more appetite for just like tried and true ChatGPT.
So I know we got some big baseball fans in the house, and analytics departments took over baseball. But now you're telling me, CJ, that finance teams are taking over analytics? Are you joining the Red Sox? What's going on?
I didn't know if you knew this, Ben, but my full name is Carl Moneyball Gustafson. So they are indeed. I'm the Billy Bean of the finance.
Brad Pitt, is that you?
Yeah, I wish. Kyle, where do you think the analytics department should sit within the org?
You sent an email that was CFOs are taking over the analytics department. I wanted to stand up in court and tell the judge, I object. This can't be the future. Who wants a CFO running your analytics department?
Well, where else would you put it though?
Literally anywhere else. Well, maybe not sales.
I didn't know you felt like this. Well, okay.
Okay. Business operations is like.
Before we argue, can we rule sales out? Can we rule sales out before we take the gloves off?
All right, let's rule sales out. We can probably rule marketing out too, but business operations would be my vote for where analytics goes.
Well, it's interesting you say that because business operations more and more is now rolling up to the CFO. Like the days of having a COO largely at startups is over.
So you're telling me a startup has a CFO, but not someone who runs operations?
Yeah, a lot of the operations are now rolling up to the CFO, especially if it's RevOps related. I think like what may be important though to go over within like the definition of analytics is like what type of data are they dealing with, right? Because I think we're assuming here, Kyle, that it's all the data in the org. And in my simple mind, I split it up into 3 buckets. You get your financial data, like your P&L, cash flow, expenses, all that. Then you got your sales data, which is around like who the customers are, how big the deals are, pipeline, rep attainment. Then you have your product data. So any usage data that comes out of the product, downloads, and anything like core to your product using telemetry. More important than ever to have all of that in one place and having data dominion and having like one set of numbers that everybody can trust.
Totally agree with the sentiment there. And I think most companies are not nearly as data driven as they want to be. And they think they need a data scientist, but really they have like no good dashboards that people have access to. So like we got to, crawl before we can run. I'm just not convinced that the CFO is the right person who knows does a CFO know what a data lake is?
Yeah, I learned the hard way what a data lake was. I learned it's something you can't wake surf on, unfortunately. Let's go through some of the other spots because, to give you an example, at Parts Tech, it actually originated, the group was built out under our CTO. And that is because we had to build data lakes, we had to build data pipelines. It was a very technical exercise to get it up and running. But if you flash forward 6 months, 12 months, it's going to be a group that's coming up with stuff that's very interesting potentially, but not necessarily impactful on the financial outcomes of the business if it sits under a CTO, in my opinion.
So you're telling me maybe the right way to think about this is you have someone that sets up a V1 analytics, and maybe that's a technical co-founder, for example, or someone on the product or eng team. But then if you want to take analytics to the next level to drive better business insights and have the analytics apply across the company, that's when CFOs are maybe great at taking it to that next level.
I think so. And I am definitely not uniquely qualified. I joke in this piece that when they said, do you want analytics? I put my hand up absolutely yes. But inside I had a lot of imposter syndrome. How do I possibly drive this Ferrari? Because I can't code, right? I don't have machine learning. I thought that sequel was the second movie that came out of the Hangover series. So I didn't know what I didn't know. But I think you can hire people if you sequence it correctly who can take on the responsibilities that you need. But I do think at first it is a rather technical exercise with getting everything into one place where you can create visibility.
You got handed analytics, and I think this is around the time you poached Kurt from me. But what were the stages of grief that you went through before you got on the other side and we're running with analytics?
Step one, like you mentioned, was hire someone, immediately give them analytics, and then if it goes wrong, I fire Kurt. So that I did that. That went really well. In all seriousness, though, I looked at him as somebody who had a better idea of how to blend financial and non-financial metrics, especially coming out of our product. So to give people an idea, our marketplace was doing more than 70,000 transactions per day. That is a ton of data. It wasn't just we were doing, $100,000 SaaS deals and it was very straightforward. It was very dynamic, very moving, and we had to build out a team that could help on the technical side, but also building the insight side for internal and external use. So hiring the right people was definitely important. And then I think it was making sure to keep it simple throughout the process, because we had OKRs that we'd set at the company level. And the whole idea was to make sure that we could tie back and support those OKRs through better decision-making. I think a lot of times there's this concept of an analytics escalator of how you move up. People jump from level 1 to level 4 overnight. And they also try to hire all these expensive people to drive a car that doesn't have a road built for it yet.
Okay, well, so walk us through what is this analytics escalator, as Ben shows us an image of an escalator that is kind of mesmerizing, actually.
I know. Isn't that a cool image? I pictured it going up in the mall to Auntie Annie's pretzels or something.
It seems to be going up to heaven, I think.
All right, so level 1, we call it descriptive analytics. And this lays the foundation just by organizing the historical data into clear and accessible formats like dashboards. Now, keep in mind, analytics is not dashboards, right? Analytics is not just sending an automated email every Monday at 10 a.m. to people. That is not what you want the end goal to be. But you do have to get it into a format where you can start to track trends.
So descriptive, you just mean if someone asks, how many customers do we have? You have one answer that everyone is confident is the right answer. Is that the right way to think about it?
That is exactly it. And you do not need a data scientist to do this. You could have a RevOps person, you could have an FP&A person, you probably have someone in-house who can get to this point. And it doesn't even need to be in like a BI or a Looker. It can just be in Excel to start.
All right, what's level 2?
Diagnostic analytics. So this is all about going deeper to uncover the actual drivers behind the data that we just established. And this step will use techniques like correlation analysis and segmentation to explain changes in performance. So to tie it back to parts tech, one of the first things that Kurt did was he segmented it by the shop owners who were ordering parts, if they own 1 location, 2 to 10 locations, or were national and owned a ton, because we were able to segment their buying behavior and make better decisions on how to staff our sales force and what our SLA should be for those customers. Another example is
on the diagnostic side, I think this often ends up being project-based, right? So you do deep dives as there are challenges in the business that block you from hitting a goal. So if churn's on the rise, trying to figure out what types of customers are churning, what are they doing differently than the customers who are healthy? What are all the factors that come into play?
You nailed it. And to give you an example, when I was at a company, Veeam, we had just launched in APJ, and we were trying to figure out if there was a correlation between rep tenure compared to Europe and how capable you were at closing deals. Another example we did was we were like, why is travel spend so high in the US? We started to dig into if there was a correlation between the reps who traveled the most and the reps who closed the biggest deals. And we actually found there was a positive correlation. And so this is where you start to, like you said, Kyle, pick a problem or a blocker and try to diagnose what's going on behind it.
The thing that I've struggled with this diagnostic piece is that there end up being so many questions about what's going on with the business, often from sales, not to call anyone out, but the questions are, they're interesting questions that would be good to know the answer to, but there's no business change that's going to happen if someone answers it one way versus the other. So how have you found that, you can actually focus the diagnostics so that you're not just going after every whim that someone has about the business?
So I have a funny example about this. We actually went down a rabbit hole and put like 3 weeks of resources into building a dashboard to diagnose how weather patterns during the winter in certain states impacted like buying of brake pads and stuff. And we got to the end of it. It's like, yeah, no shit. People don't go and buy stuff at the store if they can't get there because the snow's so bad.
So what are you going to do with that information? Change the weather?
Yeah, exactly. Like, Kyle, that was the output we got. Like, oh, we should try to change the weather. And so after that, I remember laughing with Kurt about it. Like, yeah, like when it rains really bad or people buy more windshield wipers. It's like, okay, that's good to know. Can we predict when it's going to rain? Probably not. So what we did is we started to put requests through a filter that came in. So we had like a ticketing system for people to submit it. And we would contemplate before staffing people on those projects. And we made sure that anything we were trying to diagnose in this step linked back to an outcome that we felt if we had the right answer, we could change our behavior around it.
Yeah, I find that so many of these diagnostic projects, they're just a waste of time. Or you go and you have someone answer a problem that is the first step in the analysis, but doesn't go deeper to look at all the other factors at play. And so I think the other aspect is blocking anything that's a distraction and then using your time to get to the root cause of a problem as opposed to just service level answer that you initially identify.
And you pointed out earlier, Kyle, a lot of times people will see a shiny object and that's like something they find as an interesting data point, like, it sounds smart. But then you're like, I can't really do anything with this. It's just a fascinating thing to feather in my hat. And you need somebody on the team to say, what are we going to do if we have that answer? Should we actually be looking at that?
Yeah, I remember one of the companies I was working with, they identified that companies that stop using the product are really likely to churn. And so the answers were like, well, when we see someone stopped using the product, we should reach out to them. You go, well, at the time they've stopped using your product, they've already decided to churn. They just haven't told you yet. And so we have to go back and figure out what were the kinds of customers that stopped using it? What are the sticky things that happen in the product that are predictive that someone's going to keep using it versus decide to stop using it? What are the integrations that you'd want to set up versus not set up? And I think that you end up getting a lot of sloppy analysis that feels right but doesn't move the needle.
And it's a good segue to talk about the third level. So that's predictive analytics. So to your point, how do we get in front of churn here? And this is when you use historical patterns and external factors too, right? To forecast the future outcomes. And contrary to a popular belief that I've found, predictive analytics is not actually super complex, or at least it doesn't have to be. I actually find that the more you try to overload this part of the process, the less confident you feel in predicting the future. It's actually pretty straightforward because you just need an algorithm, and an algorithm is just a fancy word for a formula, right? An algorithm can live in Excel if you need it to. And now the algorithm just needs to be one that you've proven can tell history. So just to break down that phrase, you've tested it on past data, so you feel confident it can therefore predict the future. And this is the part that I feel like companies get hung up on a lot.
So this comes into play. This comes into play a lot for the revenue forecast, right? So your FP&A background makes sense, but where else would someone want to apply predictive analytics?
Predictive analytics instead of just for revenue forecasting. Like if I was trying to predict my cloud hosting costs and I wanted to look at user activity over a certain period, because something that people often make the mistake of doing is correlating revenue growth to hosting and infrastructure costs, but they don't correlate exactly. Like you can have free users, you can have power users. And so back testing what user activity was and find your core value metric that's not necessarily revenue, and back test that against what your AWS bill was, or now these days, what your cloud bill was.
Yeah, I see a lot of value on the go-to-market side of predictive analytics around figuring out your best possible customers who you should proactively, go try to find more of. And for so many people, they stop and they go, oh, we do well with large companies. We do well in tech. We do well in, the US. That's not particularly helpful, right? You want to figure out what are the leading indicators? What are some of the early signals like, hey, they increase their hiring. They hired for certain roles. They have certain initiatives at the company. They just installed Salesforce. So maybe they're a fit for our product now. Trying to get to predictive signals gets you much more granular understanding of your best potential customers because you know who to reach out to and you know the moment in time that they're going to be most interested in what you have to offer.
An example at Parts Tech is we were trying to figure out which customers would be the best. And of course you're like, oh, the big ones. We want the big ones. But we went a step deeper and we looked historically and tried to segment how many bays did you have in your garage. So if you picture like you go to a movie theater with a Chili's there's probably like a Jiffy Lube next door and it has a 7 bays, right? The bays are the variable that determine how many cars you can service per day. So what we did is we took the variable of how many bays does a garage have. It could be anywhere from 1 to the biggest ones have 12, right? And then we looked at what was their time to 7 orders on the platform, because we found that 7 orders was the where you had a behavior shift, where you weren't going to go onto another tool after that because you're seeing value from it. And so what we tried to do with backtesting, Kyle, is predict who should we go after in terms of how many bays they have based on the past success of other customers.
All right, walk us through the final stage.
All right. So the boss level is prescriptive analytics. So now we're in the game of what should we do here? And this is the most advanced stage. It's not just forecasting outcomes, it's recommendations for improving them. And so the goal is to develop clear if-then decision framework. So an example would be if usage drops below X, then launch this engagement campaign. Or if customer health scores fall below Y, then it triggers a CSM to intervene.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say.
I know.
Anything else you wanted to make sure we hit on, CJ?
No, I've blinded you with my science, but I think that the reality for finance teams out there, or I know we were saying where should this sit? It's really any team, is that they've already invested in the first layer of this stack. They have an ERP, they have a CRM, they have a customer outreach tool, they have planning and budgeting tool, and they probably also have a data visualization mechanism, whether that is like Looker or Power BI. But like advanced analytics, you have to go a step further than that, and there's a gap. So people will load up on the software, but they won't take the time to walk the org through the muscle movement that you need to have to go through this. So they'll try to just throw people at it and software at it. And I've personally made the mistake of hiring someone who's way too senior before we as an org can use them. And the most frustrating thing to that person is they just sit around all day making super basic dashboards.
Look, I wouldn't say you've convinced me that all of this should live in the CFO. I do like the framework for the 4 levels. In my experience, you've got some CFOs that are really business minded and they get it and they can drive this change across the org. You got other finance leaders that come up through more of an accounting or control background, and they don't get this idea of like prescriptive analytics or really diagnostic analytics even that helps the business make better decisions. And so you got to have a team that's connected with the revenue organization so that the analytics aren't just interesting data, but drives behavior changes, and then that you can measure the results of those behavior changes to make sure they're working. So, if a CFO could do it, great. But otherwise, I'd elevate the role of RevOps or BizOps.
I'm cool with that. We can meet in the middle.
Next up, fellas, we're back. Business blunders, my favorite alliteration topic of this podcast. Take it away.
Hey, CJ, you want to catch up?
I'm busy forever, so unfortunately I can't make it.
I have to say the business blunder for me this week is all the catch-up emails, and VCs have a particularly bad habit of sending you these, and it'll just be the most generic email or LinkedIn message, no context, just subject line, catch up. Hey, are you free tomorrow? ? Like, I hate that so much. I've fallen for it a number of times. It's always asking you for something. It's never actually, there's no interest in figuring out what's up with you and what's going on. They haven't asked, they'll patiently wait about 5 to 10 minutes through chit chat before hitting you with it, but they always want something from you.
There's the VCs doing it, and then I appreciate this. A lot of people will reach out to me about, hey, how did you start a newsletter or how did you start a podcast? And I would love to talk to everyone about it. But usually my best advice is just start something and then maybe we can talk about it. But yeah, like the number of catch-up emails. And for some reason, I do feel like this time of year, end of year, they really are streaming in. I don't know if people just have calendar blockers, like follow up with Kyle in October to see what he's up to and ask if we can invest in his media empire or something. But yeah, it's frustrating, and I haven't always found a good system to do it without hurting someone's feelings while also protecting my time.
Yeah, I struggle with the saying no gracefully because I'm an inbox zero type person. I will read the emails and I almost always like to respond, but for some of these, there's not a good way to respond and say no. And so I hate to be the ghoster, but sometimes that's what you got to do.
Lenny Rachitsky wrote what I think is the canonical piece on how to say no. That's a guy who's very successful in his own right and gets inbound, I'm sure, all the time. Can I do a guest post? Will you invest in my company? Can I have advice on a newsletter and a podcast and being awesome? And his post really helped me a lot because he actually gave away templates in it on how to say no to people. And I've actually saved these and I've started to use them. And it really helps me protect my time because I'm like a people pleaser. I really feel bad if I think I'm letting somebody down.
This was a great post. I also have to say, this is a good use case for ChatGPT.
Oh, you're right, dude. Yeah, you're totally right. Do you think you've gotten better at saying no as you've gotten older?
Well, so when I was younger, I actually credit not saying no with what got me where I am. Not that writing a newsletter is the upper echelon of success, but
no, I know what you mean though, but it does flip though, right?
When I was like 23, 24, I was constantly saying yes to meeting new people, going to events, taking on that extra project that no one wanted to do at work. That's what got me promoted quickly and allowed me to just get to a level of just seeing so much more than I would have seen in my small role. And so I think that there's a time for everyone. It's normally as you're, let's call it like late 20s, early 30s, you're starting to manage more people, you're getting pulled into so many different directions. You've got to flip that switch from taking on more to being much more protective of your time.
And what I've also found is that if you don't make the main thing, you're not going to get all this inbound to participate in stuff. Like you have to be really good at what you're doing, or else all the other stuff just becomes a distraction and then it'll go quiet.
This next segment's for my sleepy little guys out there. It's time for the reliable thing that you read at 2 a.m.
So Kyle, did you use LimeWire hypothetically? Because they I don't know if they still sue people. Did you use LimeWire growing up at all?
I hypothetically use not just LimeWire, but I think like 3 services very similar to LimeWire. It was
I
awesome.
hypothetically downloaded the internet's catalog of music in high school, and I thought LimeWire was gone. I don't know why I looked this up the other day. I think it was I couldn't find this song that I really wanted to, and I remember it had hypothetically came from LimeWire, and I remember like making a CD for my car back in the day, the CDRs that you would burn the CD, and I typed in LimeWire like I don't know what I would call it, life or existence or whatever, and then I saw that it's actually back. Do you know what LimeWire does now?
I think you're going to tell me.
Exactly. Wow. Well, it's an AI Web3 company, and there's something going on here that is potentially even sketchier than the original LimeWire.
I don't know if that's possible. So what are they doing with Web3?
It seems like you can sell NFTs, you can trade NFTs, but then they've also tokenized, I don't know, access to the platform in some way. What I found is they have a really fascinating pricing page where you pay a subscription to download up to X amount or share X amount of content on it. Like artist created music, you can do music created by AI, but it's all about swapping stuff with either some sort of AI or crypto tinge to it here.
Who says we're in a bubble?
Not I.
It just reminds me there's so much nostalgia for like the Y2K era, and I think this is like that to a T. But do you remember what you were listening to on LimeWire back in the day?
The Nelly Country Grammar album.
That's
Hot
pretty
shit.
classic. I had a brief but powerful My Chemical Romance phase back in the day. I think a lot of middle schoolers go through that.
I definitely downloaded hypothetically Dookie by Green Day on LimeWire. Trying to think what else.
Got some classics here.
Yeah, there were some bangers, but like the thing was you didn't have to choose. You can have it all, man.
You know, there was one artist that I don't think was in your LimeWire.
Who?
Beyoncé.
Definitely not. Definitely not. All right, you remembered that. I will never live that down. So I thought it couldn't get weirder. They bought the rights to Fyre Festival.
You know, 2 great things that go great together.
Yeah, there's like totally leaning into the scamminess of it all.
So they're buying Fyre Festival. Wasn't that just a awful experience where they scammed a bunch of people and had them stranded and like starving on some random island in the Caribbean?
Yeah, but now they're making it like vintage and ironic. And so now it's cool. Like they're probably going to serve like those crappy cheese sandwiches. And it's like, ha, remember how horrible it was?
How much do you pay for a brand that is toxic but is known? Like how much is that worth?
Right. I think, would they pay $250,000, Ben?
Yep. That's worth $250,000?
Like, what do you do with
in the wrong business?
Yeah, I don't know what, isn't that interesting? Like the brand equity value is worth something on something that failed. Somebody recently bought Enron's logo and name.
Oh, I saw that too. That was a pretty great Twitter meme.
I think it's the same guy who owns the brand Birds Aren't Real.
Yeah, I think so. A sister-in-law who is like the world's biggest birder. She'll take trips in the middle of winter to Minnesota just to see rare birds that like thrive in the cold. And she hates Birds Aren't Real so much, and I just love talking about it to mess with her.
I went down the rabbit hole because Ryan Reynolds was also in the bidding for the Fyre Festival rights, and Billy McFarland said, like, I was really bummed out. I thought it would go for more. It's like, you thought it would go for more? What? I'm surprised it went for anything.
People have too much money.
Yeah, is it now I think we're in a bubble, Kyle.
Yeah, this is bubble behavior.
Let's wrap this up with something I tried this week.
So I bet you're all thinking, CJ, you have the most lovely flowing locks that I've ever seen. Well, thank you, first of all. I've been taking finasteride for at least 8 years, so it makes your hair thicker. It's actually like pretty hard to get a prescription for it. You need a doctor, you need to see somebody. I'd been going through my sister-in-law, who's a PA, but like she decided she wanted to be like a total narc and not help me out anymore. So thanks a lot. What's family good for if you can't get prescription meds from them, right? Under the table. So I went on to Hims because I saw their ads everywhere, and I'd been thinking about it for a while, and I'm like, I don't want another Zoom meeting where I'm gonna have to talk to like a doctor or something on it. I filled this out at my kitchen table on my phone in under 5 minutes, and within 12 hours, They said somebody looked at it and gave me a prescription, and it arrives today in the mail. So just to recap, I didn't have to actually talk to anybody, and they're mailing it to my house, and it's actually, I think it's only like $2 more than what I was paying. So I was wowed by the experience.
I think the next thing you're going to talk about on this podcast is how you discovered Venmo and teaching us about it. This, Hims and Keeps and Row, they've been around for a while. I started using, it was Keeps about 5 years ago. The thing is though, it doesn't regrow your hair. It just stops hair loss. You know that, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm trying to stop the physics of
bleeding.
Father Time. So I'm cool with that. I do think it makes your hair thicker though. So like, it's not like I have more hair on my head, but if I look at pictures, it's definitely thicker than before.
I do have to say, I think that like with my friend group, just about everyone has done this or tried doing it at some point. I think I went down the, bandwagon of, using finasteride. Started it about 5 years ago. Did it for 4 years or so. And really, like, I didn't see a difference. And it got to the point where I was like, maybe I wasn't actually losing hair to start with. And I was just stressing myself out about doing it on a preventative basis. So I stopped about a year ago or so. Haven't seen any like changes either way. And honestly, there's some side effects on it. So talk to your doctor. But I think that they've branded this and made it so available and so easy that people think they should do it. And I think most people actually would probably be better off not doing it.
The ease at which you can get this stuff now, even if you wanted to get like GLP-1s, it's crazy. Like, you can order it basically just all online without like having checkups with a doctor. The hardest part about this is now they're sending notifications to my phone trying to upsell me on erectile dysfunction medicine. And I'm like, okay, now we've taken this buying experience a step too far, guys.
Oh, the upsells will get you. Oh man. They've done some predictive analytics on you.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a good place to end it.
All right, I have something I tried this week as well. Do you have plants? Do you guys have plants?
Yeah, I have a lot of plants. I have a lot of fake plants in the studio, and I have some real plants here too.
So I have a bunch of plants at home that I have to admit, I am a plant serial killer. Cannot keep like any of them alive. Constantly making trips to buy more of them. And so downloaded this app called Planta. Have you heard of it before?
No.
So it's apparently used by 7 million people, which just is a lot of people that care about plants.
7 million people use this plant app?
7 million people. Good business model. You take a photo of the plant with your phone. It'll figure out what it is. You answer a few questions about like where it's placed, how far from windows, yada, yada, yada. And then it gives you a personalized schedule of, hey, water this with this exact amount of water, do it every 14 days, move it a little bit closer to the window, further from the window, keeps your plants alive. It's a very helpful app. It's also, I don't know if it's going to be perfect. I've seen maybe a little bit better growing with the plants, but it's just so confident about its recommendations, and I needed someone to tell me how much to be watering these friggin' plants.
How does it make money?
Subscription. It's subscription based, and once you've set up your plants, you want to keep buying it because you need, you're not going to export all that elsewhere.
Is it per plant?
It is not per plant. Maybe there's a usage-based pricing model that they could implement. It's just a regular old consumer subscription. But my biggest learning with it, it's overwatering. I'll get you.
Yeah. It's interesting how you can kill a plant faster by giving it what you think it needs.
Mostly Growth is a Mostly Media production. Executive produced by Ben Hillman. That's me. Nothing said on this podcast is intended to be business or investment advice. It's the sole opinion of CJ, Kyle, and Ben. Just some guys who love talking growth. Mostly. If you like this podcast, hit subscribe. Give us 5 stars or hit like. The algorithm overlords thank you. Drink water, call your mom, and have a great day.